Hello everyone, Tina here. I hope your day's going wonderful. I'm so glad you're joining me today. Today we are going to create a couple of cards. We are using the Spellbinders, 2 Spellbinders Club kits this month. We have the Clear Stamp and Die of the Month Club kit, and it's called Fall Happiness. Nope, it's called Fall Thoughtfulness. And then we're also going to be using the Embossing folder of the Month Club kit. This is called the Cascading Leaves and Stripes. It's a really pretty embossing folder. We're going to jump in and get started by doing some stamping with our stamp set. There's 2 images in here. One is a bouquet, a fall bouquet, and the other one is a arrangement with a pumpkin. I'm going to take that one along with some sentiments. I chose 3 just because sometimes it's good to have more than less sentiments, and I'm not sure which one I'm going to use for my cards today. I'm inking up my images with my white pigment ink. This is a Hero Hughes Unicorn ink, and I'm only doing this because I need to re-ink my Versamarker pad. So you can emboss with any kind of pigment ink. I'm using gold embossing powder today to emboss my images, but ideally you'd want to use a watermark ink pad. Okay, we are going to grab some gold embossing powder, and we're going to go over our image and all of our sentiments. And then I'll use my heat gun and we will melt that embossing powder. Now I took a chance because I didn't even go over my panel here with my anti-static powder tool, but I got lucky. The image is stamped beautifully. I am going to go ahead and color in my image with colored pencils. I haven't used my Prismacolor pencils in a long time, and I have the 12-piece set, which has a lot of fall colors, so I thought we would use this for our panel. I'm going to play some music while I color in my image, and then when I'm done, I will be right back. Images are all colored in, and I put the coordinating dies over my images. We'll die cut this out, and then we're going to do some embossing at the same time. I'm going to take my Cascading Leaves and Stripes embossing folder and 2 A2 panels with white cardstock. I want to create a horizontal and a vertical embossed background. So I'll take each of these and run these through. 1 portrait, 1 landscape. Okay, so we have everything die cut and our panels are embossed. I'm going to take the vertical panel and bring in my paper trimmer. We're going to trim this panel down to 2 3/4 inches wide by 4 inches tall. And originally I was going to start on the card that we're going to create with our pumpkin here, but I want another element from leftover piece from our next card. So I'm going to put this off to the side and bring back my embossing folder, and we're going to do a little bit of embossing with it. So I'm making sure I know which side has more debossed area, and it's the top piece. I'm going to bring back my unicorn ink pad, and I'm going to go over directly on my embossing folder with my unicorn ink. You could use your Versamark ink pad for this too. Actually, it's nice being able to see the white. You guys probably appreciate it too because you can actually see where you're going to be embossing. I'll take my panel. This is going to go horizontal on my embossing folder. I'll close this up and I will run this through my die cutting machine. We're going to emboss this, and then the area that is popped up where I went over with some clear embossing powder. It's kind of hard to see, but I did emboss this with clear. This way we can go ahead and add some ink over it, and we have some areas of our background that stay white, which didn't stay too white, I have to say, but I loved the way it looked. It almost looked like a distressed colored background. I started off with red ink, that was cranberry. I went in with my orange, which is tangerine, and then we're going to finish it off with buttercup. All of these are my Concord 9th inks. We're just going to create a trio of color on this background panel. After I'm done adding the color, I'm going to go around the edges and darken it up just a little bit with a dark yellow ink. This is Concord 9th Stardust. It's a cross between yellow and brown. I'm going to ink up the edges on this, all of the edges. This just creates for me a more fall look and blends it all together. I'm going to end up trimming this panel. This is the panel that I want for my first card. So I'll take a towel. We're going to wipe away the excess ink. Just go over the top, and anything that you embossed is going to clear up. You can see it's not stark white, but that's okay because we're making a fall card. But I do like the outcome. Kind of looks like a sweater to me. I'll take this panel. I'm going to trim off a 1-inch strip off of the right. Okay, so we have two pieces. Now on the larger strip, I'm going to go back in with my Stardust ink on that one edge. I want the edge to have that yellow to it. So we're just going to add ink until I'm happy with the outcome. I do have a panel that is an A2 panel, 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches, and this is Spellbinders TERRA COTTA cardstock. I'm going to add this to the right side of this, but I thought we need a little gold in there, so I'm bringing in some Spellbinders gold mirror cardstock. I trimmed down a little over a 1/4 inch strip, put it on that left edge, and then we're going to tack it down to that terracotta. And then I'll place this on my card base as well. I thought we would need some extra leafy elements, so I did emboss one more panel. It doesn't matter if it's horizontal or vertical. There are some really pretty leaves on this embossing folder, but I actually chose 2 of them that were going to be easy to fussy cut for my card today. So, but you could, if you love to fussy cut and want to fussy cut any 2 leaves that are your favorite, you could do the same with this. But I am going over the debossed line here with my scissors, and then since my fussy cutting is not the greatest, I thought we'd bring back the unicorn pigment ink pad, and I'm going to go around the edges with it. This does 2 things. It's going to add a little bit of distressed look to our leaves, because we're going to add gold embossing powder, but it also cleans up those not so great fussy cut lines. I'll bring in my gold embossing powder, and we will take some tweezers and just dip these leaves in there. Now I didn't use my anti-static powder for these leaves either, but it worked out. But ideally you'd want to go over those with your anti-static powder before dipping them in your gold. I'm going to take this 1-inch strip. We're going to do the same, add some white ink to the edge, and then I'm going to go over this with some gold too. This is going to finish that edge, and it's also going to give me a distressed look on this. I like doing this for fall cards. I think it just adds nice warmth to your projects. I'm going to use my heat gun. We will melt this, and then we are going to continue on. I'm going to bring in some copper colored DMC floss. I'm going to create a little pile with it, and I'm also going to bring in some foam squares. We're going to put a little cluster behind 2 of the leaves and place it on our card base. I like doing this when there's not too much going on our background, and it does add a little bit of texture. Since I'm not using baker's twine, nice thing about the gold or the copper colored DMC embroidery floss, it just adds that extra little something to your cards. I put foam squares behind my leaves, kind of arranging them with one hand, and then I'll tuck that twine behind them, and then we're going to tack this down so a little bit of the leaf is overhanging on that terracotta cardstock. We're going to take one of our sentiments for this card. I'm using the sentiment that says, "Thanks for your thoughtfulness." I'm going to add a foam square behind here and place this a little bit overhanging on that twine too. This will help secure that, not twine, but floss. I'm going to finish it off with some red Spellbinders Color Essential Gems. We're going to add a few around our sentiment, around those leaves, and that will finish off card number 1. And then we're going to go back to this panel here. Remember, this panel we trimmed down to 2 3/4 inches wide by 4 inches tall, and the lines on here are vertical. I'm going to take that 1-inch strip, make sure that panel is centered on some terracotta cardstock, and then I will tack down this stripe piece over that panel. I'll trim off the left and the right. This way I know it's completely centered. I do this way because I want to pop up that panel for a little bit of dimension. So we'll flip this around. I'll take some foam tape, put it behind here, and then I'll replace it back on that panel. I think this card needed just a little bit something else. I'm going to take this and put it on an A2 size card base, just using my tape runner, and then we are going to bring in some foam squares, add some foam squares behind our pumpkin, and I'm going to do the same thing with that copper twine. We're going to add a little bit of texture behind here. I'm going to place this right in the center of that panel. You can see that copper twine. It looks really nice there. I will pop up the sentiment here that says, "I'm thankful for a friend like you." And then we're going to bring back some of our red Color Essential Gems, and we will finish off this card. So 2 cards today that were pretty easy to create. A lot of embossing, but I think the embossing really does add to it. We use the Spellbinders Clear Stamp and Die of the Month Club Kit called Fall Thoughtfulness. And then we also used the embossing folder of the Month Club Kit for September 2023. It's called Cascading Leaves and Stripes. That pen there was my sparkle pen, so I added a little sparkle to my pumpkin. Thanks so much for joining me. Have a fabulous day. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.